Well, it is the 10th episode of 10 Minutes of Bliss, and for that reason, I will be sharing today something very pressing, I would rather say, because I figured if you're here this far into this podcast series of my journaling, I wish to share with you some further, more imminent and pressing gifts that I have to transmit for anybody who may be able to make some use out of. That brings us to, if something was to keep me up at night, what that would be. I thought about that a lot, and I realized what keeps me to study more for the past few years have been this constant, just innate curiosity within me to figure out when the big crash will happen. Now, in order to even speak about the big crash, we first must understand a few things about the world in which we live in right now. One of these important principles that we have to be cognizant of is the fact that history repeats itself. And humans have shown that through hundreds of thousands of years of anthropology studies, that a whole lot of things keep on repeating, even literally as big of an event of an ice age. Now, the times we're going through right now, there are four corners or four different distinct opposites of how the state of life at an individual level or at a society level or at a tribal, more close-knitted social circle levels feel like. It could either be in winter, it could be, bad times that create strong people, and then these strong people go ahead and create good times, and then the good times create weak people, and the weak people create bad times, which create strong people, and then this keeps on repeating. Now, that goes on an individual as well as on a society level. And what we're about to experience is the result of about 100 years of the Federal Reserve of the United States becoming the de facto authority in controlling the global reserve currency and its circulation, which has gotten us in the big mess that we are today. And not to put the full blame on the Federal Reserve, every other government on the planet is also using and modeling the same fiat system, by the way. And this has been a part of history since forever. Money's been around, or this concept which represents just a storage form of some energy, just the same way batteries hold onto energy that electricity is. Money is just another form. It's currency. It's an energy form that we keep on different formats, such as currency. Money is one of them. Gold is another one. Real estate is another one. Bonds, papers, Bitcoin, all of them are different things. Now, we have come to a state in the world right now where the West, for the first time ever, well, not really the first time ever, but for the first time in many people's lives, is experiencing a level of stagflation almost. Because if we count in the real number of inflation, not the 9% being announced, but the over 30, 40, 50% sometimes inflation in the West, that everybody is panicking because of, and all the havoc that's being caused. And this is, by the way, the best side of the story. On the East or on some other parts of the world, we have countries that are experiencing, inflation in like 100%, over 100%. And all these people living in these countries are now essentially being literally mugged of their belongings. The debasement of the currency is a real problem in the world. Now, put that on top of macroeconomic problems such as global logistical issues that are hopefully, after China's coming back to production recently, are going to start clearing. But also we have issues such as the war between Ukraine and Russia, the energy crisis in Europe. We have the housing crisis that is now going into full effect in North America, where houses and loans, especially in countries such as Canada, that were taken in during the peak of the bubble, are now starting to default because they were on open terms. So people who were just 2 years ago paying $3,000 a month for their mortgage are now finding themselves to be paying over $7,000, which is really putting foreclosures on the market and now debasing a market that has already been shaky and it has already been suffering. And now we have a problem with the housing. We have another problem with inflation because of the constant printing of the money by the Federal Reserves of all countries and debasing their own money. Now we have job losses that are now coming in record numbers. Companies are falling short of expectations in their queues in their annual meetings or quarterlies. Now, this is all just basically getting ready for that perfect storm, which hasn't come yet. And that perfect storm could come in any shape or form. And the other certainty, which kind of everything is based upon, is that it is only an inevitability before a balloon pops. And the certainty, however, is that every balloon will pop at one point where it is blown up beyond its threshold of holding on to its own self, which we just don't know when that is going to happen, because every time a new round of money is printed and the debt ceiling is raised, for example, in the USA, there's just more money being injected into a system that is already experiencing inflation at many other levels. And the problem that presents itself in such situations is that the middle class always gets squished down to the bottom class during such events as what's about to occur. The difference between classes will just increase. Ray Dalio has an amazing book, Changing World Order, where his team have researched extensively into this. And this debases the savings of every household around the world by different varying degrees, from the best case scenario of about 40% in the West to all the way into bankruptcy of countries that are, by the way, now turning to Bitcoin. We have El Salvador and Central Africa that have already done that because it is probably the only plausible replacement to the old fiat system that has failed everybody due to its inherent nature of being not capped to any number and therefore losing its value as a store of value. Now, currencies are going to obviously be around for transactions. Somehow they're going to be stabilized, and that will happen, but most likely on the Bitcoin rail. But my warning to everybody, The warning shots are fired. Take notice of the changing world order, the economy of the global system can and will go bonkers when winter comes. And winter is near. Brace for impact. Get yourself ready. Sit on some dry powder, but not too much, because we don't know what's happening to currencies. And this is not financial advice by any means. However, I am heavily looking into Bitcoin as a hedge, because there is no other way forward if you understand and study what it means and what it stands for. That is the end of this episode.